Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, and thank you for the continued support from Mr. Fothergill Seeds and Cobra Garden. Today I'm going to be planting leeks in the garden and in the polytunnel, tying in and side shooting tomatoes. We're out in the veg plot today and I'm going to plant the leeks, and this is perfect weather for planting them. And traditionally leeks aren't planted till the end of May or into June anyway, and what people would have often done is grow their first early potatoes, and when they lift them they put them into that ground that's been forked over. So ground preparation is very simple. Mine are all grown together in the onion bed, so it's been forked over, put a bit of compost in there, a little bit of fertilizer to give them a good start, and I must admit I've watered this ground because it was a bit dry. It's much easier to plant them if the ground is moist. And then I'm just using a fork, not a rake, and it's just a case of knocking the soil around a little bit to get a nice crumbly surface with it. And that's it, it's as simple as that. And these are the leeks. These were started off in early spring in these plug trays. Just drop the seed in there, put them in the polytunnel, and as you can see now these have made lovely strong plants just at the perfect stage for planting out into the garden. And the way I plant them is this: very traditionally it's a dibber. It's just, you could use the shaft off an old spade or fork. I've made this. The ground's been prepared, I've got my board down or a string line. I'm going to plant them about 6 to 8 inches apart, so 15 to 20 centimeters apart, and I'm then going to push this into the ground. We want it at least 6 inches if we can get it, about 15 centimeters, and that makes a hole. And the reason we do that is we want the base of our leeks to be nice and wide. So these just simply pop out, and there we have our lovely plants, got a lovely root system on there, and we just drop one of those down into the hole, and it means that the base of the stem will be covered and excluded from light, so that we'll get that lovely white shaft on it. So it's as simple as that. Drop them in there, and then what we need to do is just to give them a water in, and we just top them up with water. I put a little bit of seaweed feed in this just to help them establish and get the roots down, and that is it. I'll check them in a week's time. If they're dry, I'll give them another water, but because that's going deep down, the roots are usually okay. They'll grow through the summer, and we can start to harvest these leeks from about October onwards and enjoy them right the way through the winter. So I'm going to carry on planting these, and then we're going to go into the greenhouse. Well, everything in the greenhouse is growing nicely now, as you'd expect for this time of the year, and making plenty of growth. The tomatoes are growing away. I've got some in self-watering pots and some of them in just big containers sitting on a saucer to make watering that little bit easier. What you need to do with them is give them a bit of attention really on a weekly basis, in the form of training them, because these are going to be grown as a single stem, and I tie them to canes. Some people have strings and they just loop them around, but I find this holds them steady. And what it's a case of doing on a weekly basis is to go around them and take off any side shoots, and then we need to tie them to this so that they've got that support for when they're carrying a big crop of tomatoes later on. So we're going to start with this one here, and these are the side shoots, and where they grow is between the main stem, the vertical stem, and a leaf. In this leaf joint here we get these, and if we leave them on they will become as big as the tomato plant itself, so we'll just get a really bushy plant. So it's really simple. I use my finger and thumb and just literally snap them out, so you don't need to cut them off. And do this one, just snap it one way and then back, and it snaps off nice and cleanly, and that heals. So we need to check all up the plant to make sure they're all taken off, and then to support them I use soft string, and I'm going to tie them about every 6 inches up the stem. And a little tip is, if you go round the stem itself and then loop that string around the cane an extra time, it just stops it slipping. And then I always get mixed up between granny knots and reef knots, so whatever type of knot it is, just snip that off, and that will hold that nice and firmly against the cane. And we can see that plenty of flowers are forming. We've even got fruits developing now. So what we need to do is make sure these are watered on a regular basis. Never let them dry out. The compost must be moist at all times, not too wet but moist. And once a week we can give them a high potash tomato feed so that the flowers continue and it helps the fruits to swell. And in a couple of months' time we'll be picking lovely ripe tomatoes. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and thank you for telling your friends and sharing it. And I hope you're enjoying your garden over the summer, growing lots of plants and growing your fruit and veg. Next time we're going to be checking the fruit and we're going to be doing a little bit of propagation. So we'll see you then. Bye.